Hey folks, it's Abby and this is my June reading wrap up. We are going to be blasting through these books today because I have builders outside the window doing a lot of work, so I need to get through these fast before the drilling starts up again each time. I had a good reading month in June. I read 4,223 pages across 9 books with 11 hours of audiobooking. That is fewer books than I'd usually get to, but the biggest book I read this month was Exodus by Peter F. Hamilton, and this is 893 pages. And then the oldest book that I read this month was The Name of the Rose. This was published in 1980 in Italian. For the genres, I read 3 fantasy books, 1 mystery, which could also be fantasy.
I'm trying to do this quickly at the gaps.
3 sci-fi books, 1 non-fiction, and 1 historical fiction. The nationalities break down slightly differently to usual this time, so I read 1 book with authors of various nationalities, primarily English and British, but all over, 1 Italian author, and 7 English authors. This doesn't usually happen, and I'm very pleased about it because I read far too many Americans, and this will balance things out. Then for the format, I actually only read 1 book entirely in paperback, and that was this one. Then I listened to 1 book via audio, which was this one. I read 1 book via ebook, and the rest was a mix of reading them physically and ebooks. I have no idea what order these were in, and part of me does not want to muck about with it because then I will lose the drill-free time. Once Upon a Summer, which is a short story collection collated by H.L. Macfarlane. This is so fun. It's a collection of lesser known authors, indie authors, published by an indie house, and they are all, of course, summer related. The first story, which is by my favourite author in here, is called The Ice Cream Van. We love it. We have The Last Roses of Summer, Love in the Time of Volcanoes. I loved that one. Summer Dreams, The Witches of Dogtown, Contracts with a Mermaid, It Is Written. So many great little stories in here. I really recommend this collection, and I'm excited to read Once Upon an Autumn when we get to September. Sent to me by the fantastic people over at Book Break, we have A Crime Through Time by Amelia Blackwell. This book is set in both 1799, yes, and 1995, and we are following a young woman who comes across a pager in 1799 that then transports her to 95. She then stumbles across a murder and decides that she has to figure out what's going on, but she's being jumped back and forth between these time frames. She doesn't know how nor why, and she doesn't know what is going on with the murder. This was really fun. I really enjoyed seeing the idiosyncrasies between 1799 and 1995. I think the reaction was very realistic but also worked very well in fiction and wasn't too freak-outy. This is just really fun. It's the start of a new series, Miss Darcy Investigates, and I want to read them all. Then, Discworld, but also time-related, Thief of Time by Terry Pratchett. This one has 2 men, I was going to call them boys, but I think they're men, who can control time in different ways. One is learning to be a monk, and the other one is a clockmaker who is looking to make the most accurate clock possible. And obviously this starts mucking shit up, and so Death makes Susan get involved. As always, really fun. This one had less like messages about humanity and more messages like personal, about like not wasting your own time, which I thought was interesting. Regardless, had a great time with this one. 18 by Alice Loxton. This was sent to me by the folks over from Book Break. This is going to be a common theme in this monthly wrap-up. It seems to be more and more of a thing as time goes by. And this is a non-fiction of the lives of different young people at the point of 18 years old throughout British history. My least favourite part about this is that there's not 18 characters. There's 17 people that we learn about. The 18th chapter is about you. I also really like the diversity that's included in here. We have a lesbian character, we have a black man in the UK in the 1600s, King Henry VIII's time, so I really enjoy the diversity that Loxton made sure to include in here. I said I like 17 of the chapters. The 18th chapter is written as a self-insert, as you being like, oh, what will you do? And it's very clear. The rest of them, they're written easy to read, so this can be picked up by younger readers, but adults can read this too. But that final chapter, especially as a 28-year-old who has not done much with the past 10 years that would actually be impressive, it hurt, man. I would have rather had another young person's perspective. I don't think you understand how much rage is building in me. The other 17 chapters I really enjoyed of this. I liked the spread of characters, of course, characters, they're real people, but of course the ones that are from further back in history you are more likely to have heard of because it's going to be limited historical record for random people. There are also names I've never heard of, and I really enjoyed that. There were some really fascinating people in here. I really enjoyed the little chapter headers about how the characters interacted with each other. This is definitely intended for an audience of around 18-year-olds. I'm going to break your fancy new windows. Adults can definitely read it too, but just be aware that it is designed for younger readers. Then another Adrian Tchaikovsky for me this month, and that is Alien Clay. This one we follow a Professor Arten Dagdev, which I'm saying wrong, and I know I'm saying wrong. And this one follows this professor who was against the regime on Earth and ends up getting shipped off to this planet where he's got to work as a prisoner until he dies. He's labour, and he'll die out there on this penal colony. However, this world actually has a fascinating flora and fauna system, and as a professor, and that's what he was researching into, he is fascinated and he wants to learn more. And so there's this interplay between him having this huge amount of scientific knowledge that the base wants to utilise, but also trying to treat him as a prisoner because he's there because he doesn't agree with the politics of the people who are currently running Earth. This is another fantastic book from Tchaikovsky. I've discovered that I really love his work, and I really need to get to the 2 special Goldsboro editions that I have of his, because I've just been reading his little like standalone sci-fis. But this was so great. I really loved the unique ecosystem and the way that that presented, as well as the interactions between the different humans and how those melded and created the story. This was a really fun one. Some people say that this one's similar to Shroud, and whilst they go to a planet and there are other life forms, that's the only similarity, and I feel like that's a fair amount of sci-fi. So I really enjoyed this one. It's really unique. I'm about to go over there and help them just get this done faster. Then for one of my 10 books to read in 2025, I have The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. You can check out the full list here, but I'm making good progress through this. This book is set in the 1300s, and we're following 2 monks who end up going to an abbey in Italy, and there are murders happening, and they're asked to investigate and figure out who the murderer is. This has so much in it. We have the politics of Christianity in this time era and the fight between the Pope and the Holy Roman Emperor and the various different factions of Christianity. We also then of course have the fact that someone is being murdered. We have other secrets that are within this abbey, and also there's a labyrinth in there. Our main character that we're following and we're in the perspective of is like Watson, and they have their Sherlock, who also happens to be British, which is hilarious. This is translated from Italian, and I actually partly read the physical book and partly read the ebook, and the ebook I had was an old translated version, so it was interesting to see the 2 differences in translation. Just over time he wanted it simplified, which I thought was really interesting. He says in his notes in the back that people were looking too much into the Latin and reading too much into things, so he tried to simplify the verbiage so that people could just flow in the story more, which I thought was really interesting. I really enjoyed this. I thought that the labyrinth style of things was really well done, the various different mysteries interlinked really well. It is both a satisfying and a very unsatisfying ending, which is quite a skill to do, and I'm glad I finally picked this one up. I can't believe it's been sat on my shelves for so long. I get split seconds of silence and then the drill again. This is the only day I have to film this. There's not much I can do! Then for the giant book, and that is Exodus by Peter F. Hamilton. This is a difficult book to recommend because no matter how many great things I say about it, people are going to be put off by it being 893 pages long. If you're not going to read a book that is almost 900 pages, I can't convince you to read this. That was one of the things I struggled with this book. It actually almost put me into a reading slump, purely because this wasn't on my planned TBR, and I was dedicating so much time to it that I was struggling to actually get to my TBR, and that was stressing me out. I went into this having never read a space opera before, so I didn't know what to expect, so I don't know how much of this is normal to the genre and how much of it is specific to Hamilton. However, I really enjoyed the vast amount of points of view and the interwoven plot points that then become one as the book progresses, and by the very end you actually see how everyone has influenced everyone else despite being on opposite sides of this, I don't want to say solar system, I think it might be bigger than that, but opposite ends of this planetary arrangement and from different species. I think the world building is done really well with these humanoid but not quite human people and the impacts that they've had on people, and there's so much to talk about because it's such a big book. But this is, for me, very well written. It's a slow read. I started it on the 1st of June and I finished it on the 30th. It is a slow read, it is a big read, and I am looking forward to taking a break from this world, but also I'm really interested in carrying on with the series and seeing where it goes. I will also say it's linked to Wizards of the Coast. They've got like this whole like video game and also like a D&D like run and stuff that's gonna come out linked to it, so you might be intrigued with that. It's a difficult one to recommend, but if you do like space operas, if you are happy with a big chunky book, this one was really well written and I really enjoyed it. Another one from the folks over at Book Break. This one is One Yellow Eye by Leigh Radford. This is following a woman who is a scientific researcher. She researches cancer cells to see if they are carcinogenic, etc, etc. There is a infectious outbreak, so content warnings for those who still can't read that sort of content at the minute. We're in a world that is post-outbreak, but their outbreak was essentially a zombie virus. People got the virus, died, came back to life, and then their entire point was to just transfer the virus, so they would bite people. And they wouldn't eat them, but they would just bite everyone. And we are supposedly post that now. We're in a post-virus world. Everyone has been killed, but they still don't have a cure for it. They just killed everyone that had it because it was so infectious. And we follow this woman who actually has hidden her husband, who has this virus, in her bedroom, has him chained up to the wall, and because of her scientific knowledge and background on working in a hospital, she's able to steal bits and pieces that she needs to care for him. This book tackles a lot of topics: love, infections, morality, animal testing, about letting go of loved ones, and of emotional healing from grief, as well as really detailed science, because Radford's mum worked in this industry herself, and so they were able to get a lot of information about that and have it be really accurate from her. This was so good, it's so good. I haven't heard anyone talk about it, but if it sounds at all interesting to you, I would recommend picking up this light sci-fi. And my final book for June was Tales of a Monstrous Heart by Jennifer Delaney. I will sum this up by saying I have requested the e-arc of book 2 from NetGalley, but I don't plan to spend £28 ordering it from Goldsborough to match this edition. And I feel like that says a lot about what I thought of this book. This book is a romantasy, which isn't usually my favourite, and it's probably why I'm not willing to spend 30 quid for another book of this, even though I enjoyed it. It's also supposed to be a Jane Eyre retelling, and I can see the influence, but debatable. I did enjoy this one. I think that the world building is done really well. I really love the magic system in here. I want to learn more about the different creatures. We have different races of different fae, and I want to learn more about them. And I want to learn more about kind of the darkness, how it's controlled, how they're going to overcome the prejudice that is present in this world, because people hate the fae even though they've culled and genocided most of them. And I do want to carry on the series, but not for £28. It's very pretty, but no. I did have a good time with this book, so hopefully I get that e-arc. And that was the month of June. Please let me know down below in the comments, have you read any of these books? What do you think of them? Are you going to pick any of them up? And also please let me know how annoying the drilling noise was. My battery is dying, so I really do have to go. If you'd like to see what I'm planning on reading in July, then you can watch that up here, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Bye folks!